Black and white, Sister Fatma Haider.
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Assalamu alaikum. Before I start, I just want to make a request. If everybody could turn their signs towards the street, please. Just put the message out there. Thank you. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the most beneficent and the most merciful. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, another International Day of Al-Quds has arrived. Another day has arrived to remind us that a year has passed and Palestine is still not free. Therefore, this day is painful for all of us. It is painful to know that not halfway across the world from us, human beings are still being treated like third-class citizens in their own homeland. The genocide against the Palestinian people and its accompanying atrocities is completely unacceptable and a glaring violation of the Geneva Conventions that nonetheless continues on. And every year, I ask myself, how can this grave fault be amended? One of the underlying issues that feeds this barbarity is that the media will never depict the extent of the persecution and misery that these people suffer through. They may report on the existence of wars. They may report the accurate death tolls, and they can even report the unbiased civilian death ratios if they're kind enough. But what the Zionist regime will never let you know is the real extent of their treachery. Israel is not only murdering the Palestinians. Israeli gunmen opened fire on the fishermen and forcefully arrested them, as well as 2 other fishermen an hour and a half later. This was 3 days ago. Over just this past week, the Palestinian Center for Human Rights has documented a total of 4 fishermen, including a child, being wounded by Israeli forces, 14 fishermen, including 2 children, being arrested, and 3 fishing boats being confiscated. Also, just this Tuesday, 21-year-old Khalid Al-Quds was released after 6.5 months in prison for what the Israeli police and security devices call incitement on his personal Facebook page. Just 12 hours after his release, forces then arrested him yet again, this time for public celebrations with his father following his release. Let's ask the Zionists, since when did joy become a crime? As if life weren't hard enough, injustices like those against the fishermen further attempt to eliminate Palestinian sources of livelihood. And they serve their overall purpose as well, to crush the mental state of Palestinians through the constant fear of arbitrary arrests and harassment. In fact, Israel routinely conducts thousands of arbitrary arrests that go completely unnoticed. From 2010 to 2014, over 3,000 children were arrested in Israel, Palestinian children, or perhaps better called kidnapped by Israeli forces. 75% of whom attest to having suffered physical abuse while detained, according to an Adusto report. Ladies and gentlemen, these are small children. This says nothing of the number of civilian adults that have been constantly arrested. And these adults have reported being beaten by soldiers on the way to interrogation stations. Stripped and humiliated in prison, physically abused in multiple additional ways, and then often held in solitary confinement as well. All for what? For being Palestinian? For wanting to live on their own land? We must ask the Zionists, which one of these is an unwarranted claim? Add to the fear of arrest, the constant fear of having your home taken away from you and destroyed at the whim of the Zionist regime. Yesterday, Israel delivered notices of demolition to 40 indigenous Bedouin families east of Jerusalem. The families have reportedly refused the notices and wish to remain steadfast on their land. And I quote, they said, "Even if Israel tried to uproot them, they will stay." This forced relocation is another crime punishable by international law that Israel must be held accountable for. On top of these fears, Palestinians then carry the stress daily of trying to safely raise their children. With educational opportunities already limited and safety conditions terribly compromised, this feat proves very hard for Palestinian parents. Just this Monday, a Palestinian father was walking with his 8-year-old daughter to buy food for dinner. At around 8 o'clock, an Israeli police vehicle rammed into his daughter on the road, leaving her with fractures and bruises to various parts of her body, including her right leg, nose, and jaw, for absolutely no reason. These are just some of the daily stresses people in Palestine must bear. To top it all off, they are regularly prevented from trying to report these trials to the world. This Sunday, journalists working with Jordan's Roya TV were attacked with tear gas by Israeli soldiers while covering a peaceful demonstration in Palestine. The journalists, who had been attacked despite wearing vests labeled press, were hospitalized with facial burns. Israel wants to demean the Palestinians to the very edge of existence and then make sure that we do not hear about its crimes. In the words of Palestinian activist Mohammed Zayara, quote, "Israel is doing all it can to suffocate and strip away any source of happiness for the Palestinian people. Any event which can bring some excitement into their hearts, they try to make it end. Events such as Ramadan, Eid, and traveling," end quote. Too often it is assumed that if the Zionists are not bombing the cities, homes, and children of the Palestinians into pieces, that all is well. That is not the reality. What we cannot ignore is that each action and non-action by the Zionist regime is calculated to promote their long-term agenda. By attacking in holy months, by daily straining the emotional capacities of a people long abused, Israel